The stars outside the window looked calm, but inside the Alliance ship Unity flamed. Things were not so peaceful. Rafi stood in the middle of a large training room. The walls were made of smooth silver metal, and large screens showed maps and combat data. All around him, Valari warriors trained in pairs, their movements sharp and powerful. Their armor shone in the lights above, and their long limbs moved with speed and grace. Rafi felt out of place that he was a human and technician, not a soldier. His dark hair was a little messy, and his toolkit hung at his side most of the time. He repaired ship systems or worked on scanners. This was the first time he had been sent to work directly with the Valari. And not just any Valari, he was paired with one of their top warriors. Her name was Zura. Zura was tall and strong, with pale blue skin and deep green eyes that looked like they could cut through steel. Her black armor was marked with the symbol of her clan, a golden triangle. She stood still like a statue, watching Rafi with a look that said she wasn't impressed. "You are late," she said sharply. Rafi checked his watch. "Only 2 minutes," he replied, trying to smile. "2 minutes is too many," she said, folding her arms. "In battle, 2 seconds can decide life or death, right?" Rafi said. He stood straight and gave a short nod. "Let's begin, then." She turned and walked toward the weapons rack without a word. Rafi followed. They were supposed to test the new energy shields that humans had designed. These shields could protect fighters during close-range combat. Rafi had helped build them, but Zura didn't trust them. She had said, "Human tools are soft, like their makers." Rafi had laughed awkwardly when she said it. Now he regretted it. Zura picked up a practice blade and looked at him. "You will show me how your shield works." Rafi activated the device on his wrist. A blue barrier appeared in front of him, humming softly. She nodded, then moved fast. In less than a second, her blade struck the shield. Sparks flew. She struck again and again. Each hit made the shield flicker. "Wait," Rafi shouted. "You're hitting it too hard." "There is no too hard in war," Zura said, her voice calm but cold. She stepped back and looked at the shield. "It is weak." "No, it's just not designed to take 100 hits in 10 seconds, Rafi said, stepping forward. "This is a support tool, not a wall." Zura frowned. "Then it is useless. In battle, a shield must hold." Rafi felt heat rising in his chest. "It's not useless. You didn't even use it the way we designed it. You're not testing it, you're trying to break it." Zura's eyes narrowed. Her voice dropped. "You question me?" Rafi hesitated. All eyes in the room were on them now. Even the other Valari had stopped training. Rafi knew he should stay quiet, but something in him pushed back. Maybe it was pride. Maybe it was frustration. Or maybe it was just her eyes sharp, burning, alive. Without thinking, he said, "You know, you're beautiful when you're angry." Silence. The training room went still. Even the hum of the shield faded. In his ears, Zura stared at him. No expression, no words, just staring. Rafi's mouth went dry. Sorry, I didn't mean." Zura turned away. She walked past him, placed the blade back on the rack, and left the room without a single word. Rafi stood there, frozen. Then he looked around. The other Valari were staring at him, confused or shocked. One of them gave him a strange look, almost like respect, or maybe amusement. Captain Bone, the human leader of the mission, walked in just then. He saw Rafi standing awkwardly and frowned. "What happened here?" Rafi gave a weak shrug. "Cultural misunderstanding." Later that day, Rafi sat alone in the repair room, trying to make sense of what had happened. His mind replayed the moment again and again. Why did I say that? He thought. He didn't know. Maybe it was the tension. Maybe it was the way Zura's eyes lit up when she was angry. Or maybe he just wanted to make her stop looking at him like he was nothing. But what did her silence mean? Was she insulted? Did he break some rule? Would she report him? His thoughts were interrupted by the door opening. Zura stepped in. Rafi stood up quickly. "Listen, I just wanted to say, I did not expect that." Zura said. Her voice was calm, but there was something strange in her tone. Not anger, not coldness, something else. Rafi rubbed the back of his neck. Yeah, me neither. She looked at him for a long moment. Human words are strange. You say soft things in hard moments. Sometimes we do, Rafi admitted. She stepped closer. Not threatening, just curious. Where I come from, she said. No one calls a warrior beautiful when they are enraged. Maybe they should, Rafi said quietly. Zura blinked. Then, without a word, she turned and left again. Rafi sat down slowly. What just happened? He didn't know if she was angry, amused, confused, or something else entirely. But he had a feeling this wasn't the end. And for the first time since joining the Unity Flame, he wasn't just the quiet technician anymore. The next day on the Unity Flame was quiet, but Rafi could feel tension in the air. He had made a strange comment to a powerful alien warrior Zura, and she had simply walked away. Not shouting, not punishing, just silence. And now, he didn't know what that meant. Rafi walked into the dining area, hoping to eat and forget about it. But even there, he felt eyes on him. A group of human engineers were whispering at a nearby table. One of them, a friend named Kiro, gave him a look. You okay? Kiro asked. Rafi sat down with a sigh. Define okay, you're still alive after calling Zura beautiful in front of 20 Valari soldiers, Kiro said. Raising an eyebrow. That's impressive or crazy. I wasn't trying to impress anyone, Rafi said. It just came out. Well, whatever you did, it's all over the lower decks. People are saying she might challenge you. Rafi blinked. Challenge me. You know, combat, Valari style. Rafi nearly choked on his water. I don't even know how to hold a sword. Kiro laughed. Relax. She hasn't said anything yet, but I'd stay alert. Rafi didn't laugh. He quietly finished his food and returned to the tech bay, where he could focus on work and not think about warrior women who might crush him like a bug. That afternoon, Rafi worked on one of the ship's damaged scanners. He sat on the floor with tools spread out, adjusting wires and humming softly to himself. Then the door opened. Rafi looked up and froze. Zura stood in the doorway, tall and quiet as always. But this time, she didn't look angry. Hey, Rafi said carefully, wiping his hands. She walked in slowly, her armor making soft metallic sounds. You are repairing this scanner? Yes, Rafi replied. It was sending false signals. Zura nodded. Then, to his surprise, she sat down on a crate across from him. Rafi blinked. Did you need something? No, she said. He waited for more, but she stayed silent. Watching him work, it made him nervous. Her eyes followed every move, every twist of his wrist. After several minutes, he couldn't take it anymore. Are you mad at me? He asked. Zura tilted her head slightly. Why would I be angry? Well, yesterday. What I said. Zura was quiet. Then she said, no Valari has ever said such a thing to me during a challenge. Rafi rubbed the back of his neck. Honestly, I didn't mean it like that. I mean, maybe I did, but not to insult. It was just the truth. Zura looked directly into his eyes. You confuse me, human, Rafi chuckled. You and me both. Another pause. Then Zura asked, what does beautiful mean to you? Rafi blinked. It means something or someone that makes you stop and feel something, like a sunset, or a painting, or a person who shines, even when they're not trying to. Zura's brow furrowed. Strange meaning. Where I come from, we are taught to be feared, not admired. You can be both, Rafi said gently. She looked at him for a moment, then stood. You speak in ways I do not understand, but you do not lie. Then, without another word, she walked out. Rafi sat there, staring at the door. What just happened again? Later that evening, a message came through the ship's main channel. A small asteroid storm was approaching, and all crew were called to assist. Rafi grabbed his toolkit and ran toward the engine room. He found Zura already there, standing next to the ship's energy stabilizers. The power surge from the storm could damage them, and they had to be protected manually. We must adjust the stabilizer rods before the storm hits, Zura said quickly. I'll handle the codes, Rafi replied, moving to the panel. As they worked, the ship shook slightly. The storm was getting closer. Red lights flashed across the walls. "Be fast," Zura said. "I'm trying," Rafi said, fingers flying across the screen. These systems weren't built for this kind of load. Suddenly, the panel sparked, and the lights went out. "Power failure," Rafi muttered. The emergency backup lights turned on, casting the room in a soft red glow. Zura drew her short blade and stepped beside him. "Stay behind me." "What? Why pirates sometimes follow asteroid storms? They use the chaos to sneak on board," she said. Rafi's heart began to race. "That's comforting." They waited in silence. Only the sound of metal creaking filled the air. Then came a thump. Rafi jumped. Zura stepped forward. "Blade ready." Another thump closer this time. Zura whispered, "Stay low." She moved like a shadow. Swift and silent, Rafi crouched behind a crate, hard pounding. A figure stepped into the room, a short, bulky creature in dark armor. Not Valari. Not human. Zura moved fast. She kicked the intruder back before he could react. Her blade hit the wall next to his head. "You picked the wrong ship," she growled. The pirate ran. Zura didn't chase. She turned to Rafi. "It's safe now." Rafi stood up slowly, shaking. "That was, wow, you're amazing." Zura nodded. "You were calm, even when afraid." "That is rare." "Actually," Rafi said, "I was terrified." She smiled a small, tight smile. "But real. You're strange, Rafi," she said. "And you're interesting," he replied. They stared at each other for a moment. Then the ship's power returned, and the moment was gone. Later that night, Rafi sat alone in his room, thinking. He had expected Zura to be angry, to yell, to challenge him. Instead, she was watching him, talking to him, even smiling. She hadn't reacted with rage. She reacted with curiosity. That was more dangerous and more exciting. He didn't know what would happen next, but one thing was clear. This mission had just become a lot more complicated. The ship moved through space like a silent arrow, cutting across the stars. Inside the Unity flame, most of the crew were resting. It had been a long day after the asteroid storm. But deep inside the engine room, Rafi was still working. He sat, with a small scanner tool in his hand, trying to fix a damaged power converter. Sparks flew from a corner as he adjusted wires. His brow was wet with sweat, and his eyes were focused. Across the room, Zura stood like a statue. She had offered to stay with him during repair duty. She didn't say much, but her presence had become familiar now. Rafi didn't mind it anymore. In fact, he found it comforting. "Almost done," he said, tightening the last bolt. Zura gave a small nod. "You work well under stress." "Thanks," Rafi replied, smiling. "I've had practice." Suddenly, a loud boom shook the ship. The floor trembled. Tools scattered across the ground. Rafi looked up. What was that? Zura's eyes narrowed. She reached for her wrist device. Unknown energy impact. Something hit us. The alarm. Lights flashed red. A voice came through the ship's speaker. "All crew, emergency alert. Unknown vessels approaching. We are under attack." Repeat. "We are under attack." Rafi's chest tightened. Not pirates again. Zura checked the scanner. No, this is a warship class. Too big for pirates. Rafi's heart started to race. What do we do? The engine room must stay online. If power fails, the ship can't defend itself. "You repair. I protect," she said firmly, pulling out her weapon. Before Rafi could reply, the door to the engine room burst open. To strange beings entered, tall and armored, with glowing red visors. They moved fast, weapons raised. They weren't pirates. These were soldiers, well-trained and dangerous. Zura didn't wait. With one leap, she reached the first attacker and knocked him to the ground. Her blade flashed. The second soldier fired. A shot, but Zura dodged and struck him hard in the chest, sending him crashing into a wall. Rafi ducked behind a control panel. His hands shook as he pulled out his tools. "Rafi," Zura shouted. "The stabilizer. If it breaks, we lose shields." No," he shouted back. He opened the panel. Sparks flew. The stabilizer core was flickering. If it overloaded, the whole system would shut down. He had only minutes while he worked. More enemies entered. Zura fought them off with skill and speed. She moved like a storm, calm but powerful. Her armor was scratched, and her breathing grew heavier. But she didn't stop. Rafi's fingers flew over wires and circuits. He blocked out the noise. He focused on the one thing he could control. Suddenly, the lights turned white. The stabilizer was back online. Yes, he shouted just then. He saw an attacker aim a weapon directly at Zura's back. Zura, he cried. Without thinking, Rafi grabbed a metal rod and threw it with all his strength. It hit the soldier's arm. His aim missed. Zura turned and struck him down. She looked at Rafi. Surprised, you threw that? He nodded, out of breath. I guess I did. She gave him a rare smile. Good throw. Another explosion rocked the ship. The attackers began to retreat. Moments later, the emergency lights went green. The captain's voice came through the speaker. All hostile forces have been pushed. Back, ship secure. Zura put away her weapon and looked at Rafi. You fixed the system, she said. You saved my life, he replied. They stood in silence for a moment, surrounded by sparks and smoke. You are not like other humans I've met, Zura said. Rafi smiled. I get that a lot. An hour later, Rafi sat in the medical bay, getting a cut clean by a robot nurse. Zura stood nearby, arms crossed, watching him. Captain Bone entered. I heard what happened. You'd have held the engine room alone. Rafi nodded. We didn't really have a choice. Bone looked impressed. I'm recommending both of you for commendation. That was brave. Zura didn't speak, but Rafi saw the small tilt of her head. She appreciated it, even if she didn't say so. As Bone left, Zura stepped closer. You acted fast, she said. You protected the stabilizer. You even distracted an attacker. I wasn't trying to be a hero, Rafi said. I just didn't want to see you get hurt. Zura looked at him closely. You risked your life for me, Rafi shrugged. You've done the same. She stared for a moment, then said, in my world, if someone saves you, it is a bond. A bond, she nodded. It means trust, loyalty, sometimes something more. Rafi tried to joke. So now I'm part of your warrior clan? Zura didn't laugh. Instead, she looked at him seriously. Maybe. Rafi didn't know what to say. His heart beat a little faster. Zura turned and walked to the door. You are stronger than you look. Rafi, not just with tools. With spirit, thanks, he said softly. She paused, then added, I do not hate being called beautiful. I just never heard it before, especially not during battle. Rafi smiled. Then maybe it's time you hear it more often. Zura gave him one last look, then left. Rafi leaned back and took a deep breath. He had faced soldiers, fixed a failing system, and stood beside a warrior who used to scare him, and somehow, he felt more alive than ever. The days passed quickly aboard the Unity Flame. Rafi and Zura worked side by side, growing more familiar with each other. The tension that once filled the air had softened, though not disappeared. They still argued sometimes, but now it was with more respect than before. One morning, Zura received a message from her home planet's command. The Valari Council wanted her back for a challenge, a test of honor. It was not a simple duel, but a ritual to prove her loyalty and strength to her people. Rafi heard about it when Zura shared the news in the tech bay. They want me to fight Churn. She said, he says I betrayed the Valari by working with humans. Rafi frowned. Churn. Zura nodded. He is my rival. Strong, but not honest. He will not fight fairly. Rafi's heart sank. Are you going to accept? Zura's eyes were steady. I must. If I lose my honor and the right to lead. Rafi felt helpless. Is there anything I can do? Zura shook her head. This is a Valari matter. You must stay out. But Rafi couldn't stop thinking about the challenge. He knew Churn was dangerous, but if Zura won, it would help build peace between their peoples. The day of the challenge arrived. The Valari arena was vast and open circle surrounded by thousands of spectators. The crowd was loud, their voices echoing across the stone walls. Zura stood at one side, calm but focused. Her armor gleamed under the bright lights. Across from her stood Churnatal, muscular Valari with dark red skin and sharp eyes. His armor looked heavier, covered in strange devices that blinked softly. Rafi was not allowed inside the arena, but he watched nervously on the ship's monitors. He saw the tension in Zura's posture and the cold smile on Churn's face. The challenge began with the raising of weapons. Zura moved quickly, striking with precision. Churn blocked her blows and counterattacked fiercely. The fight was close, both showing skill and strength. But Rafi noticed something strange. Churn's movements were too fast, too perfect, almost unnatural. He studied the screens, looking closely at the devices on Churn's armor. Suddenly, he realized those devices were helping Churn cheat. They boosted his speed and strength beyond natural limits. Rafi's heart pounded. If Churn won by cheating, the alliance between Valari and humans could break. Worse, Zura's honor would be destroyed unfairly. He had to do something. Rafi rushed to the ship's control room and sent a secret message to Zura's wrist communicator. Churn's armor is enhanced. Watch for strange power bursts. Zura received the message and glanced at Churn's armor. Her eyes widened, but she didn't show fear. She adjusted her stance, ready for whatever came next. Churn pushed harder, his blade flashing like lightning. But this time, Zura dodged with new awareness. She avoided his attacks and searched for an opening. Suddenly, Churn's armor sparked and hissed. One of the devices on his shoulder exploded, sending him stumbling. The crowd gasped. Zura seized the moment. She moved fast and struck a clean blow that disarmed Churn. The duel was over. The arena was silent. Then, the Valari Council rose and declared Zura the winner. Cheers erupted from the crowd. Zura looked toward the ship, and Rafi smiled back through the monitor dot, but as the crowd celebrated, Zura noticed Churn's glare. It was filled with anger and humiliation. Later, back in the Valari chambers, Zura confronted Rafi. "You interfered," she said quietly. "I saved your life," Rafi replied. "You would have lost because of cheating." Zura's eyes softened. "You risked much, and you fought with honor," Rafi said. Zura smiled, a real smile this time. "Next time, I will fight for more than honor. I will fight for trust, for us," Rafi nodded. "I'll be ready." The challenge had changed everything. Zura's victory strengthened the bond between humans and Valari. But more importantly, it began a new friendship, a partnership built on respect and trust. As the sun set behind the stars, Rafi and Zura stood side by side, ready for whatever the future held. The stars outside the Unity flame sparkled quietly as the ship drifted through space. Inside the command room, tension filled the air. Zura paced back and forth. Her pale blue skin shone faintly under the soft lights, and her green eyes were restless. The challenge had ended, but new troubles had begun. Rafi sat nearby, watching her. He wanted to speak, but wasn't sure how. Zura's pride was strong, and he had crossed lines before. Finally, Zura stopped pacing and faced him. "You interfered with the duel," she said quietly. Rafi nodded. "Yes, I could not watch you lose to cheating." Zura's gaze was steady. "You broke Valari law." "I broke no law where I come from. I did what was right." Zura folded her arms. "Your way is strange, human, maybe," Rafi said. "But I care about you." The words hung in the air. Zura's eyes searched his face. "Why?" she asked softly. Rafi swallowed. "Because you're brave, strong, and when you're angry, you look alive. That's why I said it. It was true." Zura's lips pressed together. She looked away for a moment, then back. "You make me uncomfortable," she admitted. "But also curious." Rafi smiled gently. "Good, because I want to understand you." Zura stepped closer, her voice low. "Next time, do not make me choose between my honor and you." Rafi looked into her eyes. "I will not." They stood close, the quiet between them filled with new feelings neither fully understood. Days passed, and the ship prepared for its next mission. Zura and Rafi worked together more smoothly than before. Their arguments were lighter, their smiles more frequent. One evening, Rafi found Zura alone on the observation deck. The stars stretched endlessly around them. She looked at the distant lights. "Tell me, Rafi, what is it like on your planet?" Rafi smiled. It's very different. But sometimes, it feels like this quiet, full of hope. Zura nodded slowly. I envy that. He reached out and touched her hand gently. We have hope here too, he said. Because we have each other. Zura looked down at their hands. Then back up at him. Perhaps this is the beginning of something new. Rafi's heart lifted. Yes, something new. But not everyone was happy. Churn, still bitter from defeat, gathered a group of Valari warriors who did not trust humans. We cannot let these outsiders weaken us, he said angrily. Zura's choice is a danger. The group nodded, their faces hard. Word of their plans reached Zura and Rafi. We must be ready, Zura warned. Rafi clenched his fists. We will face them together. One night, Churn and his group attacked the ship's lower decks, trying to sabotage the Alliance. Zura and Rafi fought side by side, protecting the ship and each other. Their teamwork was flawless. His quick thinking and her combat skill combined like a dance. When the battle ended, they stood victorious but exhausted. Zura looked at Rafi, eyes shining with pride. You are no longer just a human technician. She said, you are my partner. Rafi smiled. And you are more than a warrior. You are my friend. As the Unity flame moved forward, so did the bond between Rafi and Zura. They knew the future held challenges, but together, they were strong or died in. The vastness of space, their story was just beginning. The Unity flame sailed through the dark space, carrying its crew toward unknown challenges. But beneath the calm surface, tension was growing. The Valari Council had called an emergency meeting. Some warriors still doubted the humans. They believed the Alliance was weak and dangerous. Churn's followers had spread rumors, trying to turn the Valari against their human partners. Zura stood before the council chamber, her armor shining in the cold light. Rafi was not allowed inside, but he waited nearby, ready to support her. The council was divided. One leader said, humans are soft. They do not understand our ways. Another said, we need strength, not weakness. Zura's voice rang clear. Strength is not only power, it is trust and honor. We cannot grow without them. The room buzzed with whispers. Finally, the council leader spoke. We must decide. Should the Valari stay in the Alliance or leave? Zura's heart pounded. She turned and looked at the human observers through the glass wall. Her eyes found Rafi's, and she nodded. Rafi stood tall and stepped forward when it was his turn to speak. He took a deep breath and addressed the council. Humans and Valari have fought side by side. We have saved each other's lives. Churns. Cheating tried to break that trust, but we overcame it. He paused, feeling the weight of his words. We are different, yes, but those differences make us stronger. Alone, we fall. Together, we rise. The council listened in silence. Zura then stepped forward, her voice strong. Rafi speaks the truth. We must not let fear divide us. The universe is vast and dangerous. We need allies we can trust. A moment passed. Then, the leader nodded slowly. We will stay, but trust must be earned every day. Cheers erupted. Zura smiled quietly. She turned to Rafi after the meeting. You spoke well, she said. You are a true partner. Rafi grinned. I only spoke what we both believe. Zura reached out and took his hand. Together, she said. Together, he agreed. Back in the ship's common area, the crew celebrated. Food was shared. Laughter echoed. Rafi and Zura stood apart, watching the scene. We have a long road, Zura said. But we will walk it together, Rafi replied. She smiled, soft and real. The future was uncertain, but their bond was stronger than ever. The stars outside the Unity flame twinkled gently as the ship sailed deeper into the unknown. Inside, the crew prepared for their next mission, a journey that would test not just their skills, but the bond between humans and Valari. Rafi stood on the observation deck, watching the endless sky. He felt a strange mix of excitement and calm. His thoughts wandered to Zura. She approached quietly, her pale blue skin glowing softly in the low light. Her green eyes met his. You look lost in the stars, she said softly. Rafi smiled. I'm thinking about what comes next. Zura stepped closer. Together, we face whatever comes. They stood side by side, comfortable in the silence. Suddenly, Zura smirked. Tell me, Rafi, do you still think I am beautiful when I am angry? Rafi grinned. Only when you're not trying to kill me. She laughed, a sound sharp and bright. It echoed softly through the room. The mission ahead was dangerous. The Alliance had received a call for help from a distant colony under threat from space raiders. The Unity Flame was to lead the rescue. Rafi and Zura prepared the team. Their trust in each other was clear to all. During the mission, they faced many challenges: damaged equipment, difficult negotiations with alien leaders, and sudden attacks, but together, they overcame each obstacle. Their teamwork inspired the crew. One night, after a long day, Rafi and Zura sat beneath the stars on the ship's deck. I never imagined this, Rafi said. That I would find a friend and a warrior from another world. Zura nodded. Nor I, a partner and a human. They shared a quiet moment. The vast universe around them died as time passed. Rafi and Zura's bond grew stronger. They learned each other's languages, habits, and stories. Zura taught Rafi how to hold a Valari blade. Rafi showed Zura how to repair human tech. Their differences became strengths. One evening, Zura took Rafi's hand. In anger, I am fierce. But in friendship, I am stronger. Rafi squeezed her hand gently. And you've taught me that strength is not just power, it's trust and care. They smiled. Back on the ship, the alliance between humans and Valari was stronger than ever. Churn's threats had faded, replaced by respect for what Rafi and Zura had built. The crew worked together, learning from one another. The universe was vast and full of dangers, but also hope. And in the heart of it, all were unlikely friends. Standing side by side. As the Unity Flame sped toward its next adventure, Rafi looked at Zura. We are ready, he said. She nodded. Together, the stars shone brighter, lighting their path forward. A new understanding had been born, one that no enemy could break.